Hello, namaste. Welcome to this monthly Satsang Q&A, where once a month we get together and we go through the questions for Satsang that have been sent in for over the month and try to answer as many as we can. This is volume 14, so there's a whole playlist on YouTube here if you want to go back and look at some of the previous ones. Um, and we do this monthly Q&A for many reasons. The most important ones are that if perhaps you want to ask a question of me in Satsang, but you can't attend a Satsang live if you're in a different time zone or if you're at work when Satsang is happening, then you can use the form on our website. If you go to helenhamilton.org, you'll see on there a Satsang page in the menu where you can submit your question. And the second reason is that sometimes we have a question or a challenge that we don't want to, we'd like to ask it anonymously. So when you submit a question on that form, it's going to be read out anonymously, and I'll answer it so that you can get your answer without having to give your identity in that. So there's a couple of reasons you might want to use that. And sometimes maybe even if you can make a live satsang, maybe there just wasn't time enough for all the questions. So once a month we'll gather together. Anish is here as always to read the questions for me, and we'll dive in and see where we get to. So whenever you're ready, Anish, for the first question, thank you.
Hi, Helen. First question for today. Keeping attention on the formless, infinite self seems to me like a contradiction in terms. How is it possible to keep one's attention on nothing in particular? Isn't the very act of attention a conscious extension, a reaching out towards some object of perception, whether that be subtle, energetic movement in the body or mind, or something more tangible in the outside world?
Absolutely, yeah. It's totally impossible to bring attention to something which is intangible, formless, and omnipresent. And we have this instruction which is useful for a while to bring attention back to awareness or whatever we're calling this formless, intangible, real self. But if we actually look at what's happening, if our attention is on a thought or a sensation, as you were saying, then when we say bring attention back to awareness, actually attention is disappearing. And we're kind of checking in with the awareness that we really are, noticing its presence. And attention is synonymous with awareness then. And then at some point, a thought pops up or something, and this faculty of attention seems to form, as you said, I think you said a reaching out, which is a beautiful way to phrase it. Um, and we come to see that attention is only possible when we think we're looking at an object. So the attention forms with the apparent object. Without the thought, there is no attention. Without the object, there is no attention at all. And what we experience then in our meditation is a recognition of the wholeness of our being. And then um, an object seems to pop up and attention seems to form. But when we realize that even the objects, such as thoughts, etc., are are also made of awareness, then at some point attention stops forming. The very knowing that there is no thing, no object, no form separate to the formlessness helps us to see there's no thing to pay attention to. It's only my idea that a thought is actually a thought or a table is a table that makes this faculty of attention seemingly arise out of awareness. So you're absolutely correct there. And when we get to that point, then we can discard this um, pointing or teaching to kind of bring attention back in the recognition that um, all is awareness, even the forms are awareness in disguise. So hope that helps. Very, very good question. Thank you, Anish.
Next question. When I rest into the field, the body jolts violently, especially the shoulders, and the attention rests on the field. The shaking and jolting becomes even more frequent. I can still feel the field, but the body is so distressed. I suffer from gender dysphoria, and it seems to get worse when I stop thinking, and especially if I relax and go into the body.
So first of all, whenever our attention is on what is real, or we're noticing what is real, we rest as a field, this infinite field of formlessness. The effect that that's going to have on the body is that it will relax more. And that may seem paradoxical given what you're describing, that it begins to move and shake and all of that. But it's because the body is no longer living the thoughts, where attention is on the mind, then the body has to live what we're thinking, literally, in a very literal way. So if we have some ideas about our body or ourself, then the body's got to live those. And what we find then is, when our attention shifts to the field and we're resting as our real nature, the body is just able to kind of, the energetic system also is able to open. What happens is that the energies that have been stuck, the emotions that have been stuck, are beginning to move in that openness. And because there are, we all have resistance to looking at certain emotions and ideas that we have about ourselves. These emotional energies can't move in a smooth way. So the body starts to, it can look like it's jolting because some energy is starting to move. And the body wants to move in a particular way in order to let this energy move. There's a couple of things that you can do. The first is to, well, to realize that it's normal. It might be weird and maybe a little distressing when it first starts, but if we see that every time we believe a thought, there are um, certain thoughts that we believe very, very much, like the idea that we're not safe, the idea that we're not good enough, that there's something wrong with us. These thoughts are so fundamentally part of our identity as a separate being. And there are other ones as well that we believe. And as these are held on to, these seem to be really, really true, these ideas, when we think we are a separate being, that these emotional energies get stuck. Um, so it's normal, and we will all experience some amount of these emotional energies having to clear. The more resistance to looking at these that there might be, and we all have it, of course, I certainly did, then the more challenging it might be for these energies to move. So when the body is completely relaxed, these energies can move quite easily and freely and free themselves. You could say that these emotional energies are on their way back to awakening too. So fear or shame or whatever is stuck in the system is in the energetic system in the body is trying to go back to turn back into peace, as well as we're seeking peace, so are these energies. So what we can do is, first of all, if you don't already, or if you want to, of course, to start working with some yoga asanas, some postures. Um, just very, very gentle. Don't have to do very much at all. And of course, if you need some medical advice about which ones are right for your body, then absolutely, I'd recommend that. But just some gentle stretching and some deeper breathing are going to help the body to relax and process these energies. And the second thing is that I'd suggest looking at contemplation. And there's a whole playlist here in the YouTube channel about contemplation as a way to move away from believing certain thoughts to be true. We all have, as we said, thoughts that we believe about ourselves. And as we think we are a separate being, that's the main thought, of course. But hanging on this idea that I'm a person or I am this body, um, are these other beliefs. I'm not safe. I'm not good enough. There's something wrong with me. And also a sense of feeling really limited, that we can't get what we want or need. So contemplation is a process that we use to begin to, it's an antidote actually to believing thoughts. We just ask the emotion what it is that it wants to tell us. And each emotion, rather than being the cause of the issue, is actually a symptom of some deeper thought that we've just believed so much that we don't even realize we're thinking it. In fact, we might not even know that thought is there unless we were feeling the emotion. So for me, fear, for example, when I really looked at what fear was trying to tell me, it said that I'm not safe, I'm in danger. And when I looked at guilt, it said that I'm not good enough. There's something wrong with me, fundamentally flawed about me. And I would ask you to really dive into the contemplation. If you haven't already checked out those, there's quite a lot of videos on there now that can really help you. Many examples of how to work with an emotion and how to use that to form a question for 30 days, asking the question. Um, so we turn that belief, such as I'm not safe, we turn that into a question. Is it really true I'm not safe? And we're just open then to all of the answers that want to come. All and external answers like things going on in your environment, noises outside, sensations in the body, emotions, thought answers from the mind, everything. We just include everything. And we're just undoing our ability to believe these thoughts by questioning if they're true. We can't believe a thought is true and question if it is actually true. At the same time, they're polar opposites. So, just ways to undo. We're beginning to see that we're not who we thought we were at all. But the old thoughts, the old way of thinking still functions. So we might need to do this contemplation. I certainly did to to begin to live from that place where and to allow these emotional energies that have been trapped as well to move. So first thing to recommend is to, if you can, just to accept that it's part of the process um, of seeing who you really are is also seeing who you are not. You're not a being that's separate and unsafe. Or, for a lot of us, we might have a sense of shame or guilt that's saying there's something really, really wrong with us. And that's not true either. So check out the contemplation and see which emotion you feel on a regular basis. You can work one emotion at a time. So I started with fear first because that was the strongest one. It was running my whole life and very much stuck in various places in the system as well. And then I went on to look at guilt after that first 30 days with fear and then shame. Later, I looked at a couple of other ones. So I hope that helps. You are not alone in this. It is a universal part of awakening. So have a look at that. And if you need more help, please write back in and we'll take it further. Thanks, Anish.
Next question. Hello, Helen. I'm a devoted follower and hope you can assist me with grief. I was raised with pets and have loved and cared for pets my whole life. The last of our cats passed away 10 years ago. She lived long and happy life, but I'm still grieving her loss, including the loss of my role as a devoted caregiver. My husband and I are getting older and cannot have any more pets as we travel between provinces to share time with kids and grandkids now. I'm active in my community, have friends, and enjoy time with animals outdoors, but feel an important part of me has died with my beloved cat. How do I make sense of this?
So, um, you probably know, maybe know that I'm also a cat lover, and recently, before I moved to the USA, had to say goodbye to the last of my two cats. Um, she had lived to uh, a very ripe old age, and still, even with all of the seeing that I've had, there was still a sense of grieving that went on, in a sense that something would be different about my life from that point on. Um, and also an allowing of that grief completely. And an investigation happened for me that perhaps I still might have had a little sense of separation there from her. And this is what I'd suggest for you, looking at allowing that grief the best you can, but also questioning the root idea behind the grief, which is that something or someone that you really need to be happy has gone. Something has gone basically, and you cannot reverse that, right? It's a certainty. So, as strange as it seems, you could even ask this question if you were ever really separate to your beloved pet. And, many people will ask questions similar to this because you might find it harder in situations like this than when we lose a human family member. Actually, some people find it even harder when they lose a furry family member, because they give us nothing but unconditional love, and it can be challenging then when they seem to not be around anymore. But the essence of grief is that something has been lost, something, some form, some other being has been lost. And can that be true for you? Um, and you can arrive at the place where you miss their form, you miss the peculiar and particular ways that the one being showed up as that individual expression. Perhaps the particular ways that your pet would be with you. But there's no sense of grief left there. So it may seem paradoxical that I'm saying to allow the grief, but then also to investigate. But if we investigate, was there really any sense of separation between you at all? Separation ever possible? Then you can come to the realization that you cannot lose anything or anyone. You also cannot gain anything. We have the reverse, right? We have this tiny furry body that we might take as a kitten or a puppy or something, and we feel that we have gained something. Then later we have to also feel that we have lost something. So it may seem to the mind that this is a cold way to be with anything, but actually it's the highest form of love to realize that we were never separate, that the animal body and the human body are two expressions of the same one being. And there'll be a deep sense that your pet is still right here, as the one grieving even. Could never be gone, could never be lost in the way that the mind thinks. So, sending lots of love at this difficult time. And I hope that what I've said helps you. Thanks, Anish.
If I am the immutable, formless being that appears as all forms, the unique, non phenomenal being living from formless consciousness, how can it be explained? Or what is the point of speaking of the soul as a subtle form? Is the soul also unreal? What is the point of referring to astral forms if I am not an astral form? What purpose does all this play serve, if any? There is confusion about how to connect the unique, formless being that appears as all forms with the soul that is unique and the astral bodies I hear about, but don't know exactly what they are. Thank you so much. Love.
Yeah, it's a question that comes up very often and it can be confusing. It was confusing for me. So let me just be clear that when I say astral form or soul, I'm really referring to the same thing, just in case that bit wasn't clear. And you're right, the soul is unreal. It's not a thing that exists in and of itself, but it's a word that we might use to refer to the unique or individual expression um, of the one being. So if you and I were to sit together and discuss what we like to do, what foods we like, what movies we like, types of music, we'd find invariably some differences there. And we find that when in the formless aspect, there is only the one formlessness that is totally unified and the same all over, omnipresent. But when it arises as a form, it first arises as a subtle form, energetic form, which then we could call the soul, for example. And that soul is a collection of desires and hopes and dreams, uh, sometimes beliefs that we still need to transcend. Um, and that the physical body is only the outermost extension of that unique energetic expression. And the analogy that always kind of helped me is to think of the formlessness as the ocean, as an ocean, like the Atlantic Ocean, for example. And it's just one whole body of water. But on the surface of that body of water, there are an infinite number of waves, and each wave is unique and different to all the previous ones. There's still the ocean, there's still water. And we could say that's really what the soul is. It both does and does not exist at the same time. It may seem paradoxical, but it does exist if we realize it's a manifestation of the formlessness beginning to appear as form. The process of moving from formless into form starts first in a subtle and then more gross, tangible, visible to our human senses type of manifestation, ends up with a physical body in which that soul can seem to transcend things and experience things. So it's just a way to allude to this word soul, to the individual, what makes you you, what makes you unique. You are unique and different to every other soul on this planet. And there will never be another soul just like you. And your soul is continuously growing and expanding and learning. It's a wave, but it never recedes back. If we can imagine a wave that only got bigger and more expansive. But of course, as the formless, infinite being, we also have to admit we must be all the souls, right? So we can say there really aren't any souls, they're all just formlessness in disguise. Or we can say there's a whole infinite number of souls. And both are really correct. We can't really say which is most real. The confusion comes because we're trying to figure out one or the other. Do they exist or not, the soul? Well, no, if we say the soul is independent, existing separately to the formlessness. It doesn't exist. But yes, it does exist if it's an outpouring and outreaching from the formlessness, beginning to move into form. And we can kind of get a sense of what the soul is if we realize that as we wake up to truth in this lifetime, when the body dies, it's not the body that's remembering what we've realized in this lifetime. The body's gone. It can't be the body. Otherwise, we'd have to begin all over again next time we had a human body to wake up again and go through this whole process again. And it's certainly not the formlessness that is realizing itself, we could say, because it doesn't need anything, doesn't want anything. The formless awareness, it's not even trying to recognize itself, paradoxically. It just is. So there's this kind of intermediate, energetic body, subtle body that is having these realizations, using the body for contrast and having these realizations. Um, and it is that kind of remembers from lifetime to lifetime. There might be things that you're already good at in this lifetime that you haven't even learned in this lifetime. A sense of deep connection with beings that you haven't met before. And all of that is coming from this subtle form or soul that is the one that's kind of having the experiences and storing. I mean, it's not the body that's going, the body is the physical body is like a pair of binoculars for the soul to look through and experience things. But this, it is the soul, which really is just the formlessness looking through that. So we could say at a certain point in our awakening that manifestation isn't real, subtle, or gross. And that would also be true. So why bother with souls? But if we love the formlessness, we also have to love all the ways that the formlessness appears. And that is that it appears as forms. So eventually we have to come right back around to embracing manifestation again. And that is why we might end up having this kind of conversation about the soul, is because this is what's happening for you now. So maybe just take a listen to this a few times. Maybe not trying hard to understand, just let it wash over you a few times, just intending for that understanding to arise from inside. Thanks, Anish.
Dear Helen, I'm confused about reincarnation. Ultimately, there is one presence. So, the essence of every baby that is born is the same essence of me, moving as another form. When awakening occurs while still in form, is it the case that this will only last as long as the duration of the body mind life? You recognize that you were always free, but look around and see that in so many circumstances, the experience of separation is a torment. You are tormented because you are all there is. I never want to endure this process again, the illusion or awakening from it. But until awakening is complete and the illusion is entirely seen through in all body minds, suffering exists, and ultimately this is one suffering of God. If I have reincarnated many times, is there an individual mind, a common thread, that awareness has looked through over many seeming incarnations, and that I have awakened from in this life and will not go into illusion again? If one is liberated from, example, Helen, but not from, example, John Smith, then surely liberation has not occurred because you are still in illusion and suffering in a billion human body minds. Even if we see clearly that separation is illusory, I do not want to experience it again. And if I can't avoid this, I am not free. Until we are all free, none of us are. With gratitude for your wisdom.
Thank you. And let me start by asking you to go back and listen to my answer to the question right before this, because it really speaks about the soul. And it is the soul that is waking up to the truth. It's not the body mind, because as you said, we'd have to do it all over again. The soul is a subtle, energetic precursor, of which the body, the physical body, is the tangible expression. Um, and it is what the soul is what makes you unique and individual. It is no different to formlessness, but it is a unique first manifestation of something individual. And it is the soul that is recognizing the truth. So once that process is complete, of realizing who we are, in a way, it's never complete, it's always deepening. But once we are past that point as a soul, um, of being able to believe in separation, then no matter how many bodies come after that, there will never be the capacity to believe in illusion again, which of course is very good news. It means we only have to go through this process once. And I want to also point to something else, which might be a little controversial, but it's my job to say it anyway. You said that until we're all free, then I'm paraphrasing your words, so if I haven't got it quite right, please forgive me. We're still suffering. And I'd ask you, if we're suffering now, bodies might be in pain, minds might be in pain, emotional things might be being felt, but if there is no separate being, is there any suffering happening right now? And in fact, that is what we begin to wake up out of, that we're not a separate being coming out of suffering. We begin to see that we are the one being that has never suffered, nor could ever suffer at all. So, having said that, you're absolutely correct. I can't claim that I have awakened to the truth, because if I wanted to claim that, I would have to do that for all of my bodies. And currently, there's 8 billion or whatever human bodies present on this planet right now. And that isn't counting even the ones that will come in the future and in the past. We could perhaps say there's a stage where the individual soul can no longer get caught in illusion, which might be, what you're referring to. But unless all body minds are living free of illusion, then can we really claim an awakening has completed itself? And that was the realization that came for me after I'd sort of deeply begun to see who I am. And actually, it's what began to drive this urge to teach this, to share it with others, apparent others. That I can't really say I have achieved anything. It's not like I can say I have awakened, because if I say that, I'm only referencing one body and mind, one soul even. So I find myself in a strange position of feeling like there has some point being reached here in the individuality of me, but that I can't claim for the totality of me. What I can say, of course, is that body minds are waking up all over inside me, inside the totality of the one being that this body mind is also an expression of. But also, to finish off an answer that kind of has to be complete. If there's only one of us, when you're awake, so is everybody else. What that means is you begin to see, and there is a famous quote by the Buddha, you begin to see that you are never suffering, and also neither is anyone else. That doesn't mean, of course, you would say that to everyone. Of course not. Only those that are ready to hear it. But when I realized freedom, I realized that everyone is already free. They just don't um, know that in their minds and the manifestation, their minds and bodies are not living as that freedom. And that's of course why we come to direct teaching, things like that. So Is it that all of us have to wake up or just one of us? And what happens when that one of us, when enough body and minds realize what it means that there is only freedom right now? What effect does it have on the planet when one soul recognizes the freedom of all beings, which is already so? It gets me kind of excited when we think and talk about that. But I hope that what I've said has answered your question. It's very, very common. Please, 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 please do go back and listen to the answer I gave right before this one. It's perfect for addressing your question as well, and it'll give even more depth to the answer I've given to your question. So thank you so much. Thanks, Anish.
How do I guide my journey towards enlightenment? How do I know I'm going in the right direction? I'm not sure how far down the road I am and or which direction do I feel my practice can lose direction, or is lack of direction just part of the journey? I'm drawn to the Eightfold Path as it seems the only prescribed route that has survived 2,500 years or so. So there must be something in it. I'm looking forward to tuning in to the free satsangs on Thursdays.
So the way that we can know if we're headed in the right direction is, as you said, maybe we lose a sense of direction, um, losing uh, the sense that there is anywhere to get to, and more that being replaced by a sense that I already am what I have been seeking. Um, I already am the infinite formless silence of being. And less trying to get back to it. Um, Even if there still is some seeking that goes on in our energy, some trying to get somewhere, we might be more aware of it and notice it and not engage with it so much. In practical terms, what are the signs that we should look for that we are succeeding in our awakening? Well, these might be overlooked, so it's good to really slow down and have a look and see. In general, are you feeling more peace every day overall? Some days might be disturbed, but if we look week by week, month by month, are you feeling more peace um, and contentment? Overall, day by day, are you quicker to forgive yourself if you find that you've made some error or done something you shouldn't have done or not done something you should have done um, or said something to someone? Are you quicker to let it go? Are you generally starting to be kinder to yourself in the way that you think about your own body and mind and others? Mind will judge ourselves and others, but we can also forgive that too, right? We can also say, it's just what mind does. It's not anything I'm doing personally. Also, starting to look at, am I generally feeling less negative emotions? Negative emotions are reflections of thoughts that we're holding on to, that we look at in our contemplation practice. And even if there are negative emotions, am I resisting them less? Am I able to just be with fear a little bit more today than I could last week? Am I able to kind of be present to shame just a little bit more than I did last week? Am I gradually becoming more and more consistent in my practice, meditating more and more days than I miss? These are all signs that I would be looking for, that whatever practice we're doing is actually having a beneficial effect. All the practices we do are to help us slow down and recognize who we already are, rather than keep running towards what we think we need to get to. And that comes with a deeper sense of peace, an absence of suffering, a contentment, and equanimity that starts to develop, that we don't mind so much when life doesn't go our way. And we're not overly elated when life does go our way. We can enjoy it, of course, but there's something that's kind of starting to let go of needing anything from I can enjoy my life, of course, but I'm not using it to define my sense of self-worth or anything like that anymore. So those would be the signs I'd be looking for. You're right, the Eightfold Path has survived a very long time, but it's about finding what path works for you right now. And you can simply ask that as an open question. What is it that is going to be right for me right now? And following that intuitive guidance. When you ask, it is always given, and guidance will come to you in the strangest of ways as well. So I hope that that helps. Thanks, Anish.
Next question. Right now, I'm stuck in a loop. I got divorced over 5 years ago, and for reasons I don't understand, I ended up sharing an apartment with my children's father here in Spain. I thought that chapter with him was closed, but when I arrive and see things I don't like, I'm consumed by anger. I won't recount the story I told myself because it's history, but it turns out that when I call one of my sisters who lives in Venezuela, she speaks like my ex partner. Her words are filled with fury, hatred, and a lot of rage. Could you help me understand or see this? Namaste. Thank you for being here.
So, the experiences that we have in our life, for the longest time are going to have already for the longest time um, been a reflection of the ideas that we're still holding on to inside. So the outside world, which includes our own body, other people's bodies, our relationships, our work, our family, everything, every part of our life, is a reflection of what's going on inside in the world of thoughts and emotions. So whatever we're experiencing in the outside world is asking us to look at an emotion that perhaps we aren't really fully acknowledging. And here in this path, we go even more direct than just looking at the emotion. We see the emotion also as a reflection, a symptom of something deeper inside the psyche, buried of the sense of a separate self. The emotion is reflecting back to us some idea of the separate self that we think we are, that feels very, very real. So if I think I'm a person, um, then there's going to be certain beliefs that come along with that. The sense that I don't feel safe, that I'm not safe, the sense that I'm not good enough, the sense that I'm a limited being, can't get what I want. Um, so the way that we can work our way through these challenges is to usually we try to just fix the outer worldly thing. Perhaps we spend a lot of our time and energy trying to change the outside world. But if we are the omnipresent formless self, then the outside and the inside are the same. They're not different. Usually, as human beings, we try to change the outside world so we feel better inside. And that doesn't really work for us. And it especially doesn't work when we begin to see that we are outside and inside. We are everything, everywhere, one being. The words inside and outside begin to become meaningless. So there's an event that happens in our life that seems to cause an emotion inside. But actually, what's happening is the outer experience is a reflection of the emotion, which is showing us some idea underneath that we can begin to question and challenge. It feels true for us as a separate person, but it's never true as who we really are. So I'd suggest looking at the contemplation playlist here on the YouTube channel, or you're welcome to join our community. We have some powerful teachers who are able to take you through contemplation as well. And we have many, we have an online community um, where we practice contemplation, meditation, self-inquiry. Everyone's welcome to join. You can find the link in the video description underneath the video here on YouTube. And you're welcome to join at any time. There are also free videos here on YouTube of contemplation playlist that helps us to really learn to question these beliefs so that it can stop reflecting as our life and our experiences. And we begin to see that there is no inside and outside. It's all one being experiencing its beliefs about itself. So I hope that helps. Thanks so much, Anish.
Next question. Hi, Helen. I have been on this pathless path for 14 years, and I've recently had clarity of the truth with the help of your teachings. However, due to experiences I have had seeing ghosts, spirits, getting messages, signs, and communicating with them, I'm having trouble reconciling this piece. I know all awareness, including my apparent self, but I still get looped back into confusion over it. Am I to just surrender to it being a paradox that even though all is awareness, it can still have meaning? It's like I see it as just a knowing of happenings, but also so real to my apparent self, the story. I question if they matter the same way in both cases, and also will this increase or decrease in my apparent life? Or should I be dismissing it as just part of the separate self story? Thank you so much. Love to you.
So it's a very common thing that arises for people that as soon as we begin to see who we really are, we also begin to see who we are not much more clearly. And one of the things that will really become evident, and it happened for me, and I've seen it with almost everyone, um, that whatever or whoever we're still feeling separate to, where that recognition of the one being, um, that there's only one being that's indivisible, has not kind of penetrated our thought structure and infused the mind with some fresh ways of thinking. That will become really quite painful. And we might seem to be living a very opposing experience where we are having ever greater, clearer seeings of who we are. And then also these experiences that we don't want keep happening and perhaps happening more frequently with more intensity of emotion. And as you pointed to, we could just dismiss it and say that it's not real because there's only one being and that there are no others to receive communication from, whether they're a physical, tangible, or subtle form, just an energetic form. We could say we don't need a teacher or any guidance because there's only one being. But if we're open to receive guidance wherever it comes from, we can also use that which is useful. So this guidance is not coming from something external to you, but from inside of you, who you really are. Just as any guidance that's coming from any higher beings or whatever you have been receiving guidance from, they're still not separate to you. So this is coming up really to help you see more clearly where there's still a sense of separation. Do you feel that there's a sense of separation from you and me? Do you feel that you've mentioned ghosts and spirits? Do you feel separate to them even? Of course, we would feel separate to them at first. So I had to look at this too in my own journey. I had to realize I was not separate from anything. Life was happy to show me the places I still feel separate. And this is one of those areas also with money, with some relationships, with many things in my life. Actually, I had to look and actually question if I was really separate to them at all. So in one way, we can dismiss it as an actual thing, but we can get the lesson, the nugget from it that it's trying to help us to deepen our awakening by letting go of even more sense of separation. For me, it became about recognizing I wasn't separate from anything, but also being open to receive guidance from wherever it came. So let's say I pray to Kuan Yin, for example, to help me be more compassionate, more loving, more open. Before that would have seemed contradictory, but now it's seen as a prayer inside my own self to another aspect of myself, not separate, but unique and individual to this unique expression that might have already allowed in more compassion and all of that. So um, it's often an area that's quite confusing for us as we wake up to the truth more. Um, and for a while, I said, I don't need any guidance from anyone. I was really, really arrogant. There's only me, there's only the one being. But of course, then I began to realize that I had to be open to any guidance that wanted to come that was useful for me, of course, not just going to blindly accept anything. Um, Realizing that Shiva and the Buddha and Christ and all those great beings, the sages that have come and gone, the sages that are living today, none of those are separate to me, and I can be open to receive all the versions of truth from all of the individual expressions that want to guide me. So I hope that helps you to come to some resolution with it. Thanks, Anish.
Dear Helen, for years I have followed the teachings of a mystic and a seer. The question that arises in my mind is whether all these fairies and aliens and the history of Earth and the cosmos and the translation of the scrolls can speak different languages, God's angels, all of this, are they real? Or are they also in the dream of the infinite? Since I have gone into emptiness, into silence and presence, there is nothing. Can the seers and the mystics perceive more? And my question is, does that also belong to the dream of the infinite? With warm regards.
It does belong to the dream, but of the infinite being. Uh, the idea of all these different creatures, some more advanced, some less advanced, some in higher realms, some in lower realms, all of that. But as our recognition of the formless emptiness deepens, that is what we are, we come to recognize that it also encompasses and appears as all of manifestation. So the infinite dreamer, whatever it dreams, must be as real as the dreamer itself. We find eventually that we cannot make a distinction between real and unreal. If I am reality and what I'm dreaming is a world of multiplicity, can we really say that that is unreal if it's come from reality itself? We realize there's no separate dreamer, but this universal infinite dream kind of goes on, doesn't it? And in fact, it could actually be a celebration of the dreamer. The dreamer is in effect saying, this infinite dreamer, look at all these beautiful shapes I can make and play with. Angels, fairies, uh, sages, and mountains, and children, and clouds, and trees, and um, spiders, whatever, every single apparent form, and it's infinite. The dreamer's capacity to dream is infinite, so there could never be the same thing twice. So we kind of find ourselves, and I'd actually advise, if you can, to listen back to all the answers that I've given in this session today, because there's quite a few similar questions that have come in. Um, we find as we move deeper into our awakening that we can't really dismiss anything. We can't even say the dream is unreal. At first, we're very clear, only the infinite self is real. The dream of multiplicity is unreal. But if the spider spins a web out of itself, is the web really any different than the spider? If this infinite dreamer, the one being, dreams this whole universe, can we really say that it's not real? We find ourselves in this paradoxical position of not really knowing. This dream is unreal if we think it exists independently of the dreamer. If we think there's a universe of forms that exists independent of anything else, it's unreal. But when we realize the universe to be the expression of this infinite formlessness, appearing as all these forms, then it is also very, very real. Paradoxically, you end up where you don't know whether manifestation, creation, or the unmanifest or the creator are actually any different. We find they must be the same one being. Dreamer and dream then are seen to be the same thing, inseparable from each other. Quite a beautiful place to reside, and I can feel it in what you've written here, that this is where you're kind of coming to in your seeing. So letting that settle and deepen, and yeah, enjoy it. Thanks, Anish. I think this is the last question.
Last question for today. Hello, Helen. I have a question about my farm. It's a beautiful place in Nicaragua that I took 9 years working on. However, I want to sell it and concentrate on simpler things in my life. I've had it for sale for 4 years. It's beginning to drain my resources as it costs for everything have climbed and I've hit bad market prices for my crops. Sometimes it feels like I'm being pushed to the brink, like fate. I've been meditating on this for several months. I have a plan in my mind and heart about what I will do with the resources from this farm. The happiest times in my life were when I was living the simplest, from out of a backpack or on a old cabin in the woods. I feel like I want to return to this, but I feel like I'm waiting for this elusive sale.
Thank you, and thank you, Anish, for reading so beautifully. And what I would like to say with this is that it might not be. I mean, maybe you want to sell the farm. Maybe that part is absolutely what's going to happen at some point. But maybe the backpack and the cabin in the woods is actually in our head or in our heart. Maybe the seclusion that we're seeking is not somewhere else physically, but in the seclusion, the quietness of being just the one being consciously. There was many years in my journey with four small children and running a business and waking up to the truth where I would have given anything to have just a backpack and a cabin in the woods. And for so long, I felt that I could never really awaken to truth fully unless I could do that. But actually, my life as it was, your life as it is perfectly set up for your awakening. Is it the quietness of nature, perhaps, that we seek? Or is it the quietness of the recognition of who we really are? That we can feel just as peaceful in the middle of a farm that won't sell as we can in the middle of the mountains or a cabin in the woods. That the peace that we have experienced when our external circumstances were quieter is really now wanting to become a permanent thing that we can experience wherever we are, whatever is going on. We can feel as peaceful on a meditation seat as we do at the top of a mountain, as we do in the middle of the city, in the middle of the airport, the train station, all of it. And ultimately, that has to be where we end up, that we have that same quietness and peace, no matter what is going on with our body or where it is. And if we think it is external circumstances that we want to quieten down, maybe the farm cannot sell until we really resolve this inside. that actually I can feel just as peaceful wherever my body is, whatever it's doing. When I don't need something externally to make me feel peaceful, when I'm peaceful because of who I know myself to be, then it's much more likely that my outer world will rearrange itself into the way I want it to be anyway. For me, until I deeply investigated this sense that I need my external circumstances to change before I can be peaceful all the time, then it just did not happen. Um, and it's because we still have this core division inside our thought process that there is an outside and an inside. If I change my outside, I'm going to feel better inside. And it can't be true as we wake up to the truth, right? And no one was more surprised than me that I could find that peace in the middle of a very young family and a business and, paying the bills and all of that. But it was only when I found that peace right in the middle of where I was, by deeply investigating who I am and if there even is an outside world, that seeming outside world began to shape itself more into what I wanted it to be. Can anything stop you from feeling peace if peace is a result of not believing our thoughts? You could sell your farm, go backpacking, find a cabin in the woods, and just be as tormented by your mind as you are right now. Also, you could stay right where you are in the situation that you're in and find absolute peace right now. Nothing in the world of phenomena or form can affect you because you are that from which all phenomena arise. So I hope that is helpful. So I've been through a lot of questions today, a lot on a very similar theme, and I just want to thank you for sending the questions in. I always enjoy getting together and answering these questions. And I just want to encourage you once again that if you do find yourself feeling an urge for a sense of community, you're more than welcome to take a look at our fast-growing community. And you can go to, actually, there's a link underneath this video that you can click on. That will take you to our website, and there's a description of the community there, and everyone is welcome. Um, and of course, you can join whenever. You can join today, you can join in a few months, in a year, or never. Totally okay. But I know that a lot of beings find that a sense of community, a sense of family is deeply, deeply beneficial on this path. Also, we have lots of different classes for the community as well. We have a whole growing archive of resources. The community's been going classes in the community for nearly 5 years now. So there's plenty there to if you need a little extra help. So just want to say thank you for being here with me today and to wish you a peaceful festive season. And to know that if it is a difficult time for you over this festive season coming up, for some of us it's the most difficult, most challenging time. We might feel most alone. Please know that you're always in my heart. I'm in your heart. There's never any distance between us. And if you reach out, I'll be right there inside. And we can never be separated ever. Thank you so much. Namaste.